if someone is applying for jobs at several companies, right, and then each of them is asking them to say, hey, take 2 to 4 hours and finish this problem, it's just, it's not scalable. So if you can find a place where you can really sort of sink your teeth in and have a lot of opportunity for career growth, and the company is profitable and growing and doing great things, and with a meaningful purpose, I think there's a lot of things you can do to inspire leaders. One of them is just try and help them to catch that vision of what are we trying to accomplish as not only as a company but also for the people that we work with, because having that sense of purpose in what you're doing is really important. And so if you find that you're working somewhere and you don't necessarily love what it is that they're making or building, then maybe that might help you be more satisfied in your next opportunity if you make sure that that is the case.
Hi, all. Good morning. So today I have Will with us, who is a passion leader of technology organizations with 20 years of experience. He has successfully led a lot of organizations through IPO acquisitions, cloud transformations, and multiple periods of rapid growth, which is interesting because a lot of companies do go into rapid growth, but then there's a downfall that comes along with it. But Will managed to make the companies grow through tremendous growth and managed to stick with it. Let's welcome Will on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about what he has learned along the way and how we can implement his learnings in our day-to-day lives. Hi, Will. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Manal. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, Will, can you tell us about your journey, where you currently work, and what your role is within the company?
Sure. Yeah. I work for Health Equity. It's a health savings account company based in the United States. I've been here for a little over 9 years, which sometimes seems like kind of an eternity in technology. Most places I've worked before, I work for maybe 2 or 3 years and then kind of move on and find another opportunity, which I do not like. I would recommend that. It's actually a pretty good approach if you're in technology and looking to kind of expand and broaden your horizons and see what's going on at different companies. But at the same time, if you can find a place where you can really sort of sink your teeth in and have a lot of opportunity for career growth, and the company is profitable and growing and doing great things, and with a meaningful purpose, it's pretty cool to stay for a long time too. So it just kind of depends on what you find, I think. So my experience here actually started at Health Equity as a software developer, a senior software engineer and tech lead, and I've stuck around in that role for a little while. Eventually became a development manager, and now I am the director of software development and delivery, with responsibility for a broad swath of shared services and things for the company.
Look at you moving up the ladder. Started off as a software engineer and now you are the director. That sounds absolutely amazing. And it definitely is amazing because I think a lot of companies, a lot of people join, but they usually stay within the same position. But you definitely set out milestones for yourself and now you are leading a team of software engineers. How does it feel like?
It's good. I mean, I really enjoy the opportunity to help people be successful, right, in what they're doing in their jobs, and also in the bigger picture of their careers. And so that's something that makes this role a thing that I really enjoy.
Okay. Well, I'd love to understand. A lot of leaders out there exist, but I think some leaders are better than others, specifically when it comes to inspiring their team members. I'd love to understand your experience when it comes to inspiring leaders and helping your members be successful in what they do in their day to day lives. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, there's a lot of things you can do to inspire leaders. One of them is, just try and help them to catch that vision of, what are we trying to accomplish as, not only as a company, but also, for the people that we work with, because the people we work with are, people that we spend, uh, over a quarter of our lives with, right? And so if we can't find out how to work well with those folks and help everybody kind of lift together and provide opportunities for each other and grow, then what are we doing? So I think that's really kind of the key for me, is just making sure that the focus is on the right thing. And by helping people internally grow and become better, then you have that opportunity to help support companies as well and help them grow and become better along the way. So it's really a win-win, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you so much for doing that, sharing that. It's definitely amazing that people like you who are in leadership positions are out there caring for their employees to make sure that their learning is as seamless to make sure that they become successful in their jobs. So it's great to see that. So, Will, I'd love to understand. You mentioned that at first you worked for companies for 2 to 3 years, but now you worked for this company for 9 years. What caused you to stay with this company? What's been something as in, like, I think a lot of companies these days are struggling to retain their employees because everyone's resigning, the market is hot, everyone is hiring. So what's been so
It's true.
special about your company that you have been sticking with them?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that play into that. One of them is I really believe in the mission of the company. And, maybe you do, or maybe you would believe in the mission of this company, or maybe you wouldn't, right? But I think that having that sense of purpose in what you're doing is really important. And so if you find that you're working somewhere and you don't necessarily love what it is that they're making or building, then maybe that might help you be more satisfied in your next opportunity if you make sure that that is the case. So that's one thing that helps me. The leadership of the company overall has been very good, and that helps as well. And then obviously, the third sort of pillar there is that opportunity to continue to grow and learn and take on new challenges in a space where it's okay to fail as long as we're figuring out how to move forward and get better along the way.
Well, you've certainly grown a lot. Started off as a software engineer, and now you're leading a team of engineers. Is absolutely admirable, because a lot of people get stuck, but you managed to move through different levels, and now here you are managing your own team. So it's absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Well, so well, I'd love to understand, because you've hired a lot of people within your team. What has your hiring process been like, and how have things changed since the COVID?
Yeah, that's a good question. We used to bring people in for a lot of interviews, and we would do a combination of sort of panel interviews and maybe some mob programming or pair programming exercises and things like that. And with COVID, then we changed it a little bit because the company is really remote first now, as many companies are. And I think it's still a little bit different depending on what you're wanting to do. One thing I used to like to do is, spend a little bit of time with someone outside of a work setting if possible, and that's harder to do now. But I think, it's still the tools exist. I think sitting down, if you've got someone who's going to be in a technical role and having them sit with someone else at the company who's doing that same role and just having them go back and forth on a problem together and see how they work together. I think that's a really valuable type of approach in an interview, and can be really good for seeing if people will work well together, but also doing a little bit of that technical skills assessment along the way. um, so that's part of it. And then I think it's important for frontline managers to kind of have initial interviews with people to kind of screen out folks a little bit that might not be a good team fit, and then bring in and make sure that there's a pretty broad representation of the team that at some point gets to interview each and every person. Because I think unless you have that full buy-in from your team, it's you're not going to have as successful of a thing. So getting that in place is really important.
Okay, a follow-up question for that would be, well, a lot of like software engineers usually are given a takeaway home assignment or an assignment where they have to do it in front of other recruiters. A lot of
Yep.
them are not so comfortable doing this. Can you explain maybe why that would be a case? And I just love to understand your perspective, because we've recruited for a lot of positions like front end, back end, and we face this
Yeah.
issue where a lot of people are like, no, I don't have time. I'd rather not. I'm not comfortable. So, how would one mitigate this issue that's coming up so much now?
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think, even back before things were kind of as hot as the market is right now, if you go back, 6 years ago or something when it was a little less, but still pretty busy, um, we would have trouble getting people to reply to a take home assignment, right? For a coding assignment. So
Yeah.
I think there, while from a company standpoint, you look at it and say, gosh, it sure would be nice to see a sample of something these folks have worked on. It's not really it's not always feasible, and time really is a concern, because if someone is applying for jobs at several companies, right? And then each of them is asking them to say, hey, take 2 to 4 hours and finish this problem. It's just, it's not scalable. So I think there's a couple things you can do. One of them is as a job candidate, if someone asks you to complete a coding assignment, if you already have a like a GitHub account where you've been doing work that's similar and might answer hopefully some of the questions they're hoping to find, direct them to your GitHub account and say, hey, take a look at this code that I've done, right? And you can see my check-ins and everything as I went along the way. And they might be able to get some value from that. I think if people have that sort of portfolio view of, working on contributing to open source projects or even just a personal project that you feel is fun, something that you enjoy and work on occasionally, then you can always use that and you can reuse it, right? And have it be something that people can look at. I still think there is value in having an in-person exercise where someone might be coding together with someone who works at the company, but I don't necessarily think that that should be a stressful thing for them. It really, if it's done right, if the interviewer is doing it right, then it should be a collaborative exercise. Hopefully it's just as comfortable as working, day to day at your existing job. That's the goal anyway, but it's a thing I think that takes training and experience.
Well, the GitHub thing that you mentioned sounds really useful, and we can definitely use that as a tool for us as well when we are looking for good candidates. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Will. Last
Yeah.
question, Will, promise won't take longer. Can you mention if is your team hiring? What kind of positions are open within your team, and what kind of skills are you particularly looking for within your team?
Yeah, we are hiring for a few different positions. We have a junior software engineer position open right now. It's Microsoft Stack, .NET Core, a lot of Azure-based stuff, but they may also work with some of our legacy systems, so maybe a little bit older .NET systems with like MVC front ends or things like that. We have a application security engineer position open. This is someone who, has spent time as a frontline
Yeah.
coder doing
Yeah.
development work, but now has, gotten a lot of certification and work done to kind of move to that next level as someone who really is passionate about security and at the same time of being passionate about security can help enable software engineers and developers to um, basically help them solve problems that are related to security in their code. And then
Okay.
one more, if that's okay. Can I list one
Of
more?
course.
Sure. I have a solution architect position open, and that's actually on my team. And that
Those
is a
are hot in
person
the
who,
market these days. Solution architects,
yeah,
pre-sales engineer are some of the top roles that everyone's hiring for these days.
yeah, yeah. So that one's on my team and is going to be somebody that will be really key to helping us with some of our financial system items that we're working on over time. So a lot of diagramming, interfacing with the product team, interfacing with the software architects, and yeah, going to be we'll find a great person for it. I know we will. So
Okay, well, I wish you all the best, Will. Thank you so much, Will, for coming on the show, for sharing about your wonderful company, how you moved along the ladder. Your experience, your journey has been absolutely admiring just because you started off as one thing and now you are leading a team of engineers who started where you started off initially. So it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
thank you.